Rafael Nadal gave a gift so staggering it brought Alex Eala to tears, a second home. It was a gesture that would redefine the young Filipino star's future, and it caught everyone completely off guard. The fans, the media, and especially Alex herself. What began as a quiet act of kindness from one of the sport's greatest legends transformed into a moment that resonated through the entire tennis community. But this was about more than a generous gift. This is a story about legacy, mentorship, and a bond deeper than any championship trophy. When Alex Eala first arrived at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca back in 2018, she was a determined 14-year-old from the Philippines carrying enormous dreams. She knew no one. She wasn't fluent in Spanish. And she never imagined she'd become part of Rafael Nadal's inner world. But tennis has a strange way of bringing people from different worlds together. Like so many, Eala had always looked up to Nadal from afar. And who wouldn't? His warrior-like intensity, his refusal to ever give up, the way he fought for every single point, as if everything was on the line. For a rising player in a sport dominated by European and American athletes, Nadal was a powerful symbol, living proof that passion and determination could overcome any obstacle. What she didn't realize was that Nadal had been watching her too. From the moment she arrived, the Academy's coaches saw something special in Alex. It wasn't just her technique or her movement. It was her character. The way she put in the work when no one was watching, the way she absorbed injuries and setbacks without complaint, the way she carried the hopes of an entire nation. A country with almost no tennis infrastructure, depending on her to succeed. In her struggle, Nadal saw a reflection of his own past. He knew exactly what it felt like to represent something bigger than yourself, to carry a flag that weighed more than any racket. Spain hadn't always been a tennis powerhouse either. Before Nadal and his golden generation, Spanish tennis was often overlooked. He had built a legacy from nothing. And now, watching this young Filipina fight her way up, he recognized his own journey and hers. Over time, their bond deepened. Nadal would drop by her practice sessions, offering quiet words of encouragement, sometimes just a nod or a smile, a small reminder that he believed in her. For Alex, those small gestures meant everything. This wasn't just any coach. This was Rafa, the legend with 22 Grand Slam titles, the man who had inspired an entire generation. But their relationship went far beyond the court. Nadal understood the deep loneliness of chasing a dream far from home. Alex had left her entire family in the Philippines to train in Spain. She spent birthdays without her parents. She faced tough losses without the comfort of childhood friends. The academy had become her home, but it was also a constant reminder of everything she'd sacrificed to get there. And Nadal understood sacrifice better than almost anyone. He made it his mission to make sure Alex never felt truly alone. He'd invite her to family dinners on holidays. He'd check on her after every difficult loss. He'd celebrate her wins as if they were his own. Quietly, steadily, he became more than a mentor. He became family. What Alex didn't know was that Nadal had been quietly setting something in motion, something that would change the entire course of her life. Not even those closest to him could have predicted what was coming. To understand the weight of what happened, you have to understand what the Rafa Nadal Academy truly is. It's far more than a training facility. It's not just another tennis club with nice courts and modern equipment. The Academy, which opened in 2016 in Manacor, Mallorca, was built on the belief that champions are forged through values, not just victories. Discipline, humility, respect, hard work. These weren't slogans on a wall. They were the foundation of everything. Nadal poured everything he had into building a community where young players could grow not just as athletes, but as people. A place that felt like home, even for kids living thousands of miles from their families. And Alex Eala became one of the Academy's most celebrated success stories. In 2022, she made history as the first Filipina to win a Grand Slam singles title at the U.S. Open Junior Championships. The victory sent waves of joy through the Philippines, celebrations in the streets, social media in a frenzy, even a personal call from the country's president. For a nation that had gone so long without a tennis hero, Alex became a beacon of hope. But behind the trophy and the headlines lay a journey most people never saw. By that point, Alex had already given nearly 5 years of her life to the academy. 5 years of waking before dawn. 5 years of brutal training in the Mediterranean heat. 5 years of watching other girls fly home to their families while she stayed behind, alone in a foreign country, chasing a dream that sometimes felt impossibly far away. The academy gave her everything she needed to win: elite coaching, world-class facilities, training partners who pushed her every day. But it gave her something even more important: a community to call her own. Her coaches became mentors she trusted completely. The staff became her backbone. Her fellow athletes became like siblings. And Nadal himself was a constant, steady presence. There were moments when Alex came close to giving up, moments when the weight of it all felt unbearable, when she questioned whether any of the sacrifice meant anything. In those moments, it was often Nadal who pulled her back from the edge. Sometimes with a few words, sometimes just by being there. He understood the crushing self-doubt, the fear of not being good enough, the pressure of expectations heavy enough to break almost anyone. The academy had truly become home for Alex. Her room, filled with photos from the Philippines and small Filipino flags, was her sanctuary. The courts were her battlefield. The dining hall was where she found laughter and connection with the other athletes. And yet, despite all of it, a small part of her still felt unanchored. She longed for something permanent, something that was truly, undeniably hers. What she didn't know was that Nadal had been thinking about exactly that for months. Away from cameras, away from the public eye, he had been quietly planning something extraordinary, something that went far beyond coaching or mentorship. He had watched her grow from a hopeful young girl into a formidable athlete. He had seen the pride she carried every time she represented the Philippines. And he decided to do something that would reflect just how much faith he had in her. What he was planning would stun everyone, most of all, Alex. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon in November 2024. Alex had just finished a grueling training session, every muscle aching, her clothes soaked through. All she wanted was a hot shower, some food, and maybe a video call with her family back home. Then a message came through. "Rafa needs you in the main office." Immediately, a jolt of adrenaline shot through her. Was she in trouble? Had something gone wrong with her schedule? Did he want to talk about her upcoming tournaments? She threw on clean clothes and hurried to the admin building, her mind racing through every possibility. When she walked into the conference room, Nadal was there, but he wasn't alone. The academy director was there, along with several staff members. A camera crew was quietly set up in the corner. Alex's confusion must have been written all over her face, because Nadal gave her that same warm, reassuring smile that had calmed her nerves so many times before. "Have a seat, Alex," he said softly. She sat down, her hands trembling slightly. She knew instantly that something important was about to happen. Nadal began to speak, composed, but full of emotion. He talked about the day they first met, about everything she had become, not just as a player, but as a person. He spoke about how proud he was of her, and how perfectly she embodied everything the academy stood for. Alex felt her eyes welling up before she even understood why. And then he said the words that would change her life. "For a long time, this academy has been like a second home to you. But I want to make that real. I need you to understand, this will always be your place. Not as a trainee, not as a visitor, as a true member of this family." He let the words settle. "I'm giving you the right to live here permanently. A private apartment that is yours forever. Full access to our facilities for life. And an official position as a youth ambassador, so you can guide the next generation the way all of us have been moved by you." The room fell silent. Alex covered her mouth with both hands. For a moment, she couldn't breathe. She looked at Nadal, struggling to process what she'd just heard. This wasn't a figure of speech. He meant it literally. This was her home. That's when the tears came, freely, without restraint. She tried to speak, but emotion choked her voice. Instead, she stood up and wrapped her arms around Nadal, crying into his shoulder while others in the room quietly wiped their own eyes. "Thank you," She finally managed, her voice breaking. For all of it. For believing in me when no one else would. For making me feel like I had a place. For giving me this family. Nadal held her tightly, his own eyes shining. You've earned every bit of this, Alex. All of it. This is where you belong. It always has been. The moment stretched on for several minutes. No one rushed her. No one asked her to compose herself. They simply let her feel it all. The relief, the gratitude, the overwhelming sense of finally being truly seen. Eventually, she stepped back, her face still wet with tears. Looking around the room, all she saw were faces full of warmth and pride. These were the people who had been there through every win and every loss. To her, they were family. And now, because of Nadal, that bond was permanent. What followed was a wave of attention that none of them fully anticipated. Within hours, whispers began to spread, starting with a cryptic post on the Academy's official Instagram. A photo of Nadal and Alex embracing, captioned simply, "Family forever." No context. No explanation. Just those two words. The tennis world exploded with speculation. Was this a new coaching arrangement? Was Alex joining Nadal's team permanently? Was there a bigger story here? Clarity came when Alex posted her own message. "I'm struggling to find the words right now," she wrote, alongside a photo of herself wiping away tears. "Today, Rafa gave me the most unbelievable gift, a place to call home at the Academy, permanently. I'm not just a student here anymore. I'm family. I'm completely overwhelmed. This place literally saved my life. The people here believed in me when I had nothing. Now I get to pay that forward to the next generation. I love you all so much." Her post went viral within minutes. Philippine media broke the story first, with headlines everywhere. Alex Eala given life-changing gift by Rafael Nadal. Nadal welcomes Filipino star into his family permanently. Eala's home away from home, a story of mentorship and love. Filipino fans flooded social media with celebration and national pride. The hashtag Pinoy Pride shot to the top of worldwide trends. Government officials publicly praised Nadal's generosity. Commentators across the sport called it one of the most heartwarming moments in tennis history. But the celebration wasn't universal. Some critics immediately questioned the implications. Why, Alex? What did this mean for the other talented kids at the Academy? Was this favoritism? Look, Alex is undeniably talented, one tennis blogger wrote. But there are dozens of other kids at that Academy grinding just as hard. What makes her so special that she gets a permanent home and they don't? This smells like Nadal playing favorites. Others raised concerns about dependency. Could a gift like this help, or actually hurt her career? Elite athletes thrive on struggle, a former coach posted. Handing a young player this kind of security could backfire. She has to keep that fire. Even within her own Filipino fanbase, reactions were mixed. Most were thrilled, but a vocal few worried about what it meant for her ties to the Philippines. After all, she'd already spent most of her life in Spain. Now she had a permanent base there too. Can we even call her Filipino anymore? Some asked. Or is she basically Spanish now? The backlash stung. Alex couldn't avoid the comments, the articles questioning whether she truly deserved this. She felt the weight of public doubt about Nadal's motives and about her own worth. And yet, alongside that noise, she also saw something else entirely, an overwhelming wave of love. Thousands of messages from young Filipino athletes thanking her for being their inspiration. Heartfelt congratulations from fellow players across the tour. Video tributes from fans around the world celebrating her bond with Nadal. Through it all, Nadal remained unmoved by the criticism. When a Spanish reporter asked him about the backlash, his answer was simple: "My decisions aren't guided by public opinion. I act on what I feel is right. Alex has more than earned this. Anyone who knows her journey would understand why." His words quieted many of the doubters, but they also raised a deeper question. What did this gesture actually mean? Strip away the headlines and the social media noise, and you find something simple but powerful. Rafael Nadal had just redefined what mentorship looks like in professional sports. For generations, The relationship between veteran champions and rising stars has followed a familiar pattern. Some guidance here, a shared story there, maybe an invitation to practice together or a kind word after a tough loss. But concrete, life-altering support? That's almost unheard of. What Nadal did for Alex went far beyond mentorship. It was a deep commitment, a quiet promise that a true legacy is measured by more than trophies. It's measured by the lives you change. Think about what this gift actually meant for Alex. A 20-year-old athlete from a country with almost no tennis infrastructure. The Philippines doesn't have the world-class training centers of America or Europe. It doesn't have the same financial backing. There's no clear pipeline from junior success to a professional career the way there is in other nations. Because of that, Alex's entire journey had always been fragile. One bad injury, one financial setback, one lost sponsor away from losing everything. Nadal's gesture erased that fear completely. Now she had a home base, a place to train, heal, rebuild, and grow, no matter what happened in her career. An injury wouldn't mean homelessness. A dry spell on tour wouldn't mean the end. She had somewhere to land. But beyond the security, Nadal gave her something even more powerful: validation. For so long, Alex had carried the weight of being the Philippines' great hope, the one who simply had to make it. The unspoken question always hanging over her was, if not her, then who? Every loss felt like letting down an entire country. Every tournament felt like a trial of whether she deserved to be there at all. Nadal's gesture sent a different message entirely. You belong here. Your success is real. You've earned this. This isn't charity, it's recognition. And that message rippled far beyond Alex. Young athletes around the world, especially from countries with little tennis history, saw this and recognized something powerful. It was proof that there was a place for them in this sport. That the road to success didn't have to run through Western Europe or the United States. That someone somewhere might see their effort and choose to help. This was the embodiment of everything Nadal built his academy to be. Not just a factory for champions, but a community where raw talent from anywhere in the world could thrive. A place where a girl from the Philippines could train alongside athletes from Spain, France, and America as a true equal. Nadal's gift to Alex was a statement. This is what I believe in. This is the future I'm building. And it threw down a challenge to the rest of the tennis world. Would other champions step up and make similar commitments? How many were willing to give not just their name or a few hours of their time, but real, tangible resources to the next generation? Nadal had raised the bar, and whether people agreed with his choice or not, it was impossible to ignore. Suddenly, athletes everywhere were asking themselves, what do I owe the players coming up behind me? What will my legacy actually be once the rankings and the prize money are forgotten? For Alex, though, the question was much simpler. Where do I go from here? In the days after the news broke, she found herself at a loss for words. How do you thank someone for something this life-changing? How do you put into words what it feels like to have someone believe in you that completely? She tried writing a statement several times. Every draft felt hollow. In the end, she kept it simple. I've been crying on and off for 3 days, she wrote on Instagram. It's not sadness. I'm just so overwhelmed with gratitude, I can't process it. Rafa gave me more than a place to live or a key to the gym. He gave me peace of mind. He gave me stability. He gave me the chance to chase my dreams without looking over my shoulder. I promise I'll honor this by training harder than ever and by paying it forward to the young players who need a hand. This is only the beginning. The response was massive. Her post was flooded with thousands of comments, many from young athletes sharing their own struggles and thanking her for giving them a voice. But one message stood out above the rest. It came from a 12-year-old girl in Manila. I hope I can be like you one day. You give me hope that I can make it too. We don't have good courts here, but thank you for never giving up. Alex read that message over and over. It reminded her of what this had really been about all along. It was never just about her own career. Just weeks later, Alex announced she would take on a new role as the Academy's youth ambassador, organizing training camps for underprivileged players across Southeast Asia. She would mentor young Filipino talents who couldn't afford to train in Europe and use her growing platform to push for better tennis facilities back home. Rafa showed me what giving back really means, she said in an interview. Not empty promises, real action.
I want to follow his example.
I want to be for someone else what he was for me. And that new sense of purpose showed in how she played. Freed from the constant worry about training locations and the financial strain that had shadowed her early career, Alex stepped onto the court with a new lightness, the freedom of an athlete who knew that win or lose, she had somewhere safe to land. Maybe the most touching moment came months later, during a tournament in the Philippines. Alex invited Nadal as her guest of honor, and together they ran a clinic for hundreds of local kids, many of them holding a tennis racket for the very first time. Watching Nadal coach those children, kids with the same spark he'd once seen in a 14-year-old Alex, was a full-circle moment. This, not the trophies, not the Grand Slam titles, was his real legacy. Creating opportunity, breaking down barriers, proving that greatness can come from anywhere. As the clinic wound down, a young boy shyly approached Nadal. "Will you help me the way you helped Alex?" he asked. Nadal crouched down to meet the boy's eyes and smiled. "If you commit yourself and never give up, I promise, help will find you. Maybe from me, maybe from someone else. But the world needs more champions like Alex, and you just might be one of them." From a few feet away, Alex watched, tears in her eyes. In that moment, everything became clear. Nadal hadn't just given her a home. He'd given her a purpose, a responsibility to pass on the same kindness she'd received. This story isn't really about a gift, or even a single emotional moment. It's about what happens when someone with influence chooses to lift others up. It's about legacy, about family, about the kind of impact that outlasts any trophy or ranking. Rafael Nadal's playing career could have been his final chapter: retire, enjoy his fortune, rest on his legendary status. Instead, he chose a harder path, building something that would outlast him. And Alex is living proof of what that vision can become. She's proof that real investment in young athletes, not just words, but action, can completely reshape a life. The question that remains is simple: who else will be inspired by Nadal's example?